Hi, I'm Shane with etrailer.com. Today I'm going to walk you through how to install Roadmaster's Crossbar-Style Base Plate on your 2017 Ford Taurus. Adding the base plate to your vehicle is going to allow you to flat tow your vehicle behind your motorhome. It's going to make it a lot easier when you get to your campsite because you can leave your RV set up. You're going to have another vehicle to go exploring or go to the store. It's going to be one of 6 components required to flat tow the vehicle. Our base plate is going to attach to the chassis of the vehicle to give us a solid attachment point for our tow bar. Our tow bar is going to give us that solid connection point between our base plate on our vehicle and our motorhome. Our safety cables are going to be a secondary safety device in case our tow bar fails. Our braking system is going to allow our vehicle to not only slow but stop itself, so we don't have to rely on the motorhome's brakes to stop and slow both vehicles. Our wiring, that's going to allow our vehicle, while it's being flat towed, to receive light functions from the motorhome, so that not only we're safe, but other motorists are safe because they're going to be able to see what we're doing, whether that's braking, turning, or driving at night. There is one more component that may or may not be needed, depending on the height of the back of your RV, and that's a high-low adapter. Our base plate on our Ford Taurus sits at 14 1/4 inches. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go out to your motorhome and you're going to measure from the ground to the center of your hitch. If those two numbers are within 3 inches, you're good. If they're not and they're over 3 inches, you're going to need a high-low adapter to make up that difference. The reason you need a high-low adapter, or that angle to be within 3 inches, is because we want our tow bar to be as straight as possible when we're flat towing our vehicle. Our Roadmaster Crossbar-Style Base Plate is really going to work well for flat towing your Ford Taurus behind your motorhome. It's going to hold up well. It's going to be steel construction, black powder coat finish. It's also going to have removable arms to help maintain a really nice clean look on the vehicle. And to take them off, you simply twist them and slide them out. You can see there's not a whole lot sticking out. Again, maintains a nice clean look on the front of the vehicle. Insert it, you have a tab here. It's going to fit on the bottom side of this tab on the base plate itself. So you simply slide it in and rotate it. This bracket here on the front, this doesn't actually come with the base plate, it actually comes with a tow bar. But if you notice this plate on here, this bracket is flat and it requires a tow bar that has the quick disconnect bar, which is part of this plate here. And what that is when you mount these on, it's a bar that connects onto your tow bar, and you just slide it into place and pin it at the top. The plates that are mounted on here are for a crossbar like this. It's for an easy disconnect. And it slides on just like this onto the base plate. And it's going to have a pin that slides on the top to hold it on. And then when you put your tow bar on, your tow bar is actually going to hook in right here. Once you get that connected, you can just take out these pins and slide this whole bar off and it'll stay right on your tow bar. Keep in mind with doing that, if you plan on storing your tow bar on the back of your motorhome, this bar is going to spread those arms out about this far. So just keep that in mind. You will have to find somewhere to store this if you decide to take it off the tow bar itself. A great tow bar to work well with this base plate is going to be the Falcon or Roadmaster's Falcon All-Terrain. It's going to come with a quick disconnect bar. It's going to come with the brackets to mount on the removable arms. You can find that tow bar here at etrailer.com. Now, when comparing this base plate to other options for the Taurus, I think this is going to be the best option. The connection between your tow bar and the base plate itself, I think it's really solid. I think the arms that go inside the base plate give it a really solid foundation for the tow bar. Some of the other ones, they have smaller arms on them, and the tow bars, the way they connect on there, they're just really loose, and I don't think it's a real good connection between the two. I think this is going to be the best option here. To start our installation, we're going to remove our fascia. We're going to start underneath our hood. We're going to have 4 10mm head bolts and 2 push pin fasteners we need to remove. For the push pin fasteners, you want to get under and see where that little opening is. Pop up the center and then the base. Then in each wheel well, we're going to take a 5.5 millimeter socket. You're going to have 1, 2, 3 bolts to remove. Take an 8 millimeter socket. This bolt right here, we need to remove. Right up here in the corner, there's going to be a plastic fastener. This one can be a little bit of a pain to get out. Take a Phillips screwdriver, and you just want to turn the center. You don't have to put any pressure on it. And hopefully the center comes out. If it doesn't, take a pick or something like this, and what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of pressure. Get underneath the head, kind of like that. Put a little bit of downward pressure on it. Then take your Phillips screwdriver. And just turn the center. Just like that. And then we need to get up and we need to pull the base out. You can do the same thing. If you don't have a pick like this, you can use a little flathead screwdriver. Just like that. We're going to do that same thing to the other side. And then we're going to have 5 of the same fasteners attaching the splash shield to the subframe. They're right down here underneath. This one looks like it's loose. Then we're going to have a fastener like this, or a plug on each side for our fog lights if you have them. You want to make sure that you unplug those. Now we want to start on the outside and work our way to the center. It's a good idea. If you have a second person that can help you, go ahead and do it. Even though the fascia is not hard, it's a little awkward to go from here over to one side. We're just going to pull out. The top of this is going to be kind of clipped into place. We just want to lift as we're pulling it off. You want to make sure that you don't just pull your fascia off. Check for any wiring that may still be hooked up. And you want to make sure you unhook that so you don't damage the fasteners. Now we'll take this and set it aside somewhere safe. If you have louvers, on the back side you're going to have a louver alignment bar that has 3 fasteners on it. What we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the tips together and pop it loose. Squeeze it together. And we want to do all 3. Now if you notice on our shield here, I've got it marked. This is going to have to be cut out, but if you notice that our bumper beam is in place, we're going to end up taking this off. So I just marked this so I remember to cut this after I get this out. The other side is just going to be a square. This is a solid piece. It's not going to have this to cut. Right here in the bottom corner of the part we're going to be trimming on our louvered housing, we're going to pop this fastener out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to have our ambient temperature sensor. We're going to pop it loose. And you can use a flathead screwdriver or trim panel tool. We're going to have 2 8mm head bolts to remove. And then we're going to have 2 squeeze tips at the top, or squeeze fasteners at the top. Go ahead and squeeze those. Make sure you check for any other wiring. Looks like we have a wire that comes around up here at the top. Let me click that. I have some other fasteners here. Get another one over here on the side. Go ahead and pull this off and set it aside. Here we're going to have 2 tack welds. We're going to do that on both sides. We're going to take, and we need to drill them out. I'm going to start with a small drill bit to give me a pilot hole first, and then I'm going to go with a bigger one so I can get the whole thing out. We're going to do that same thing on the other side. We'll take a 13mm socket. We're going to have 4 bolts on each side of the bumper core that we need to remove. These 2 and then 2 inside the holes. Then to remove your bumper core, this is not going to be reinstalled, but if you ever plan on putting it back on, you may want to hold on to this and the hardware you just took off. Now we're going to set our base plate in place. We're going to line it up with the 4 holes on our frame rail. We're going to use the existing hardware that we took out of the bumper beam. We want to make sure we add Loctite on all of our hardware that we're installing on the base plate. We're not going to tighten these down all the way. We're just going to loosely install them for now. Next, we're going to have 2 brackets that look like this. This, you notice how the bracket has one side that has a welded on piece. This piece is going to go towards the outside. This is going to sit on the subframe. These 2 holes line up with 2 holes on the base plate. Take our short hex bolt, Loctite. We're going to have 2 of them on each side. We're going to line them up with the holes on the bottom, put on a lock washer, and then a nut. Next, we'll take our long hex bolt. We're going to slide on a flat washer. You're going to have a pipe spacer. It looks like this. There's a large hole that goes all the way through and then through the bracket. We're going to take our bolt. We're going to come up from the bottom. We're going to slide our pipe spacer in between. We want our bolt to go through it and then up through the bracket. And we'll put on a lock washer and our nut. A 3/4 inch socket and wrench. We're going to tighten and torque all of our hardware, the specifications and the instructions. On the back of our louver housing, the lower 4 louvers we got to remove. If you flip it over on the back side, you're going to have this little bracket. We're going to pop it loose. We're going to pop our louvers from the center, just like that, and we're going to remove them. Now we need to cut out our areas that we have marked on our louvered housing. Once we get it cut, we'll do a test fit, make sure everything's fitting correctly. Then we're going to reinstall it in reverse order from the way we took it off. For these where there were screws, we actually have bolts, 2 flat washers, and a lock nut. On your passenger side, we're going to have our ambient temperature sensor we need to reinstall. Once you have your hardware tightened and torqued to the specification of the instructions, it's a good idea before you put your fascia back in place, go ahead and add any additional wiring like your diode wiring kit or braking system that you want to add. It's going to be a lot easier to run all your wires to the front of the vehicle. Once you put your fascia back in place, you're going to have to do some trimming or some modifications. Be sure when you put this back in place, you hook up any wiring that you disconnected. You have the plug on the top for your louvers. You also have your fog lights. Also, another thing I want to mention is when you're putting this back in place, it's a good idea to tape your edges. Tape the edge of your fascia, tape the edge of your fender, so that when you're putting this back in place, when these two sides meet, they're not scratching each other. Again, I'm Shane with etrailer.com. I hope this video has helped you, whether you're still deciding or installing the Roadmaster Crossbar-Style Base Plate on your 2017 Ford Taurus.